I thought marriage meant forever. I thought when I told my husband I was pregnant, he would wrap his arms around me and tell me everything would be okay. Instead, he looked at me like I had just destroyed his entire world. The words that came out of his mouth next would change everything. "You ruined everything," he said, his voice shaking with something between anger and fear. I stood there in our kitchen, the positive pregnancy test still in my hand, watching the man I loved crumble before my eyes. That was the beginning of the hardest journey of my life, but also the one that taught me what I was truly made of. Before we dive into what happened next, I would love to know where you are watching from. Drop your location in the comments below. And if you have ever felt completely alone in a moment when you needed support the most, please hit that like button and subscribe to this channel. Your story matters, and I promise you are not alone. Now let me tell you how everything unfolded. My name is Renee, and I was 26 when this happened. My husband Derek and I had been married for 3 years. We met in college, fell in love fast, and got married right after graduation. Everything felt like a dream back then. He was working at his father's construction company, and I was teaching 2nd grade at an elementary school just outside Portland, Oregon. We had a small apartment, 2 cats, and what I thought was a solid foundation for our future. When I started feeling nauseous in the mornings, I did not think much of it at first. I figured it was stress from work or maybe something I ate. But when it continued for 2 weeks straight, I bought a pregnancy test on my way home from school one afternoon. I remember standing in the pharmacy aisle, my heart racing, wondering if this could really be happening. We had talked about kids before, but always in that vague, someday kind of way. Someday when we have more money. Someday when we buy a house. Someday when we are ready. That evening, Derek was working late, so I took the test alone in our bathroom. When those 2 pink lines appeared, my entire body went cold and hot at the same time. I sat on the edge of the bathtub for what felt like hours, just staring at that little plastic stick. 1,000 thoughts flooded my mind. How would we afford this? Where would the baby sleep? Would I have to quit my job? But underneath all the fear, there was something else too. A tiny spark of excitement. A baby. Our baby. I decided to wait until Derek got home to tell him. I wanted it to be special, so I ordered his favorite Thai food and set the table with candles. When he walked through the door around 8 p.m., he looked exhausted. His clothes were covered in dust, and he barely smiled when he saw the setup. "What is all this?" he asked, dropping his work bag by the door. "I just wanted to do something nice," I said, my voice shaking slightly. "We need to talk." We sat down to eat, and I tried to make small talk, but my hands were trembling so badly I could barely hold my fork. Finally, after we finished eating, I pulled the pregnancy test out of my pocket and slid it across the table toward him. "I am pregnant," I whispered. The color drained from his face instantly. He picked up the test, stared at it, then dropped it like it had burned him. For a long moment, he said nothing. He just sat there, his mouth slightly open, his eyes wide with what I can only describe as pure terror. "No," he finally said. No, no. This cannot be happening." "Derek, I know this is unexpected, but we can figure this out together." I started reaching across the table for his hand. He jerked his hand away like I had tried to grab him with hot coal. "Figure this out, Renee. You ruined everything. We are not ready for this." "I am not ready for this. We talked about waiting, I know, but sometimes life does not go according to plan," I said, my voice breaking. "This is happening whether we planned it or not." He stood up so fast his chair fell backward. "I did not want this. I did not want a child right now. I have plans, Renee. I was going to start my own company in 2 years. I was going to save money and buy us a real house. How am I supposed to do any of that with a baby?" Tears were streaming down my face now. "So what are you saying, that you want me to get rid of it?" "I am saying I cannot do this," he said, his voice cold in a way I had never heard before. "I am 28 years old. I am too young to be a father. This is going to ruin both our lives." I sat there in shock as he stormed out of the room. I heard him on the phone in the bedroom, his voice rising and falling, though I could not make out the words. About an hour later, he came back into the living room with a duffel bag in his hand. "I am going to stay at my parents' house for a while," he said, not meeting my eyes. "I need time to think." "Derek, please," I begged, standing up and moving toward him. "Do not leave. We can work through this together." But he was already at the door. "I will call you," he said, and then he was gone. I stood in that empty apartment listening to his car pull away, and I felt like my entire world had just collapsed. The man I loved, the man I had vowed to spend my life with, had just walked out because I was carrying his child. I slid down to the floor and cried until I had no tears left. The next few days were a blur of pain and confusion. Derek did not call. I tried reaching out to him multiple times, but he would not answer my calls or respond to my texts. Finally, on the fourth day, his mother called me. "Renee, honey, I think you need to give Derek some space right now," she said, her voice sickeningly sweet but firm. "He is really struggling with this news, and we all think it is best if he takes some time away to process everything." "He is struggling," I said, my voice rising. "I am the one who is pregnant. I am the one he abandoned." "Now, Renee, that is not fair," she replied. "Derek is still so young. He has his whole life ahead of him. Neither of you planned for this, and honestly, we all think it might be best if you consider other options. There are resources available if you need help making that decision." I could not believe what I was hearing. My mother-in-law, the woman who had welcomed me into her family with open arms just a few years ago, was suggesting I terminate my pregnancy to make things easier for her son. "This is my child," I said firmly. "Derek's child. And I am keeping it whether he likes it or not." There was a long pause on the other end. "Well, that is your choice, Renee. But you need to understand that Derek may not be able to support you in this decision. He is not ready to be a father, and we support him in that." "Then I guess I will do this alone," I said and hung up the phone. That conversation broke something inside me. Not only had my husband abandoned me, but his entire family had chosen his comfort over the life of their grandchild. I felt more alone than I ever had in my entire life. The weeks that followed were the darkest of my life. I continued teaching, but it was like I was moving through the world in a fog. My students' voices sounded far away. My colleagues noticed I was not myself, but I could not bring myself to tell anyone what was happening. I was embarrassed. Ashamed. How do you tell people that your husband left you the moment he found out you were pregnant? I was about 10 weeks along when I finally told my best friend Amanda. We were having coffee after school one day, and she could tell something was seriously wrong. "Renee, you have barely touched your coffee, and you look like you have not slept in weeks," she said, concern flooding her face. "What is going on?" And just like that, everything came pouring out. I told her about the pregnancy, about Derek's reaction, about him leaving, about his family's response. By the time I finished, I was sobbing so hard I could barely breathe. Amanda did not say anything at first. She just moved her chair closer to mine and held me while I cried. When I finally calmed down, she looked at me with fierce determination in her eyes. "You are going to be okay," she said firmly. "You are one of the strongest people I know, and you are going to get through this. That baby is lucky to have you as a mother, with or without Derek." Her words were like a lifeline. For the first time since Derek left, I felt like maybe, just maybe, I could actually do this. Amanda became my rock over the next several months. She went to doctor's appointments with me when I was too scared to go alone. She helped me research cribs and car seats and all the things I had no idea I would need. She threw me a small baby shower when I was 7 months pregnant, inviting just a few close friends who rallied around me with more love and support than I ever could have imagined. I did not hear from Derek at all during this time. He had completely ghosted me. I had to handle all the logistics of the pregnancy alone. I moved out of our apartment and into a smaller, cheaper one-bedroom place that I could afford on my teacher's salary. I painted the tiny second bedroom a soft yellow and set up a crib that Amanda helped me assemble. I bought baby clothes from thrift stores and learned how to budget for diapers and formula. The hardest part was not the financial stress or the physical challenges of being pregnant. It was the emotional weight of knowing that the father of my child wanted nothing to do with us. Every time I felt the baby kick, I thought about Derek and wondered how he could just walk away from this. How could he not want to know if it was a boy or a girl? How could he not care about the ultrasounds or the heartbeat or any of it? I found out I was having a girl when I was 20 weeks along. The ultrasound technician asked if I wanted to know, and I said yes immediately. I needed something to hold on to, something concrete and real. When she told me it was a girl, I started crying right there on the examination table. I was going to have a daughter. A little girl who would never know her father because he was too selfish and scared to step up. I decided to name her Lily after my grandmother, who had passed away when I was in high school. My grandmother had been the strongest woman I ever knew. She raised 4 children mostly on her own after my grandfather died young, and she never complained once. If I was going to do this alone, I wanted my daughter to carry the name of a woman who embodied strength and resilience. Labor was terrifying and beautiful and the most painful thing I have ever experienced. Amanda was there with me the entire time, holding my hand and coaching me through contractions. When Lily finally arrived at 3:47 a.m., on a cold February morning weighing 6 pounds and 8 ounces, I held her in my arms and felt a love so fierce and overwhelming that it knocked the breath out of me. In that moment, looking down at her tiny, perfect face, I made a promise. I promised her that I would be enough, that she would never feel the absence of her father because I would love her twice as hard, that I would give her everything she needed to grow up strong and happy and confident. And most importantly, I promised her that I would never ever let anyone make her feel like she was a mistake. The years that followed were not easy, but they were filled with more joy than I ever expected. Lily was a happy, curious, spirited little girl. She had Derek's dark hair, but my green eyes and my stubborn determination. Watching her grow up was the greatest privilege of my life. I threw myself into being the best mother I could be. I read her books every night before bed. I took her to the park every weekend. I taught her to ride a bike and to tie her shoes and to stand up for herself. I worked hard at my teaching job and eventually got promoted to lead teacher, which came with a small raise that made our lives a little easier. Amanda remained a constant presence in our lives. Lily called her Auntie Mandy, and she was there for every birthday party, every scraped knee, every milestone. My parents, who lived across the country in North Carolina, visited as often as they could and video called Lily every week. We built a small but mighty support system, and slowly the pain of Derek's abandonment began to fade into something more like a dull ache that I had learned to live with. I never heard from Derek. Not once in 5 years. He never paid child support because I never pursued it. Part of me wanted to protect Lily from the rejection, and part of me just wanted to move on and pretend he never existed. I told Lily that her daddy lived far away and could not be with us, which was technically true even if it left out the more painful details. She seemed to accept this explanation without too many questions, at least when she was young. By the time Lily was 5 years old, I had built a life I was proud of. We had moved into a better apartment with 2 real bedrooms. I had started taking online classes toward a master's degree in education. Lily was thriving in kindergarten, making friends easily and showing an early love for reading that made my teacher heart swell with pride. I had even started dating again, though nothing serious. I went on a few coffee dates here and there, but I was cautious about bringing anyone into Lily's life. She was my priority, and I was not about to introduce her to someone unless I was absolutely certain they were going to stick around. Life was not perfect, but it was good. It was ours. And I had finally reached a place where I felt like I did not need Derek or his family or anyone else to validate my worth as a mother or as a person. I had done the impossible. I had raised a beautiful, healthy, happy child completely on my own. And then out of nowhere, Derek came back. It was a Saturday afternoon in late September. Lily and I had just gotten home from the grocery store, and she was helping me unload bags from the car when a familiar vehicle pulled up in front of our apartment building. My heart stopped. I would recognize that truck anywhere. Derek stepped out, looking older but essentially the same. He was wearing jeans and a flannel shirt, his hair a little longer than he used to keep it. He saw me and froze, his eyes moving from my face to Lily, who was still pulling grocery bags from the back seat, completely oblivious. "Renee," he said, his voice uncertain. Lily looked up at the sound of her name, or rather my name. Her curious eyes landed on this stranger standing in our driveway. "Go inside, sweetheart," I said to Lily, keeping my voice calm even though my heart was pounding. "Take the cold stuff to the kitchen. I will be right there." She hesitated, looking between me and Derek, but then grabbed 2 bags and headed inside. Once she was out of earshot, I turned to face the man who had walked out on us 5 years ago. "What are you doing here?" I asked, my voice colder than I intended. "I needed to see you," he said, taking a tentative step forward. "I needed to talk to you." "You needed to talk to me," I repeated, almost laughing at the absurdity. 5 years, Derek. 5 years of nothing, and now you need to talk. "I know," he said, running a hand through his hair. "I know I messed up. I know I should have been there. But I was scared, Renee. I was not ready. And you think I was?" I shot back, anger rising in my chest. "You think I was ready to be a single mother at 26? You think I was ready to do this all alone? I am sorry," he said, and there were tears in his eyes now. "I am so, so sorry. I made the biggest mistake of my life when I walked away from you. From her. He gestured toward the apartment where Lily had disappeared. Her name is Lily, I said sharply. Your daughter's name is Lily and she is 5 years old and you have missed every single moment of her life. I want to fix that, he said desperately. I want to be in her life. I want to be in your life. I have changed, Renee. I am not the same person I was back then. I stared at him, this man who had once been my whole world and felt absolutely nothing. No love, no longing, not even hatred anymore. Just emptiness. Why now? I asked. What changed? He looked down at his feet. My dad had a heart attack 3 months ago. He is okay now, but it made me realize how short life is, how much time I have wasted. I have been thinking about you and the baby every day for 5 years, and I finally got the courage to come find you. Well, congratulations on your courage, I said sarcastically. But you do not get to just waltz back into our lives because you had an epiphany. Lily does not know you. She does not need you. We have been just fine without you. Please, Renee, he begged. Just give me a chance. Let me meet her. Let me try to make this right. I wanted to say no. Every fiber of my being wanted to tell him to get back in his truck and disappear forever. But then I thought about Lily, about how she sometimes asked about her father, about how she might feel one day knowing I kept him away when he tried to be part of her life. I need time to think about this, I said, finally. You cannot just show up and expect everything to be okay. You broke my heart. You abandoned your child. That does not just go away because you are sorry now. He nodded, pulling a piece of paper from his pocket. This is my number. Please just think about it. I will wait as long as it takes. He handed me the paper, got back in his truck, and drove away. I stood there in the driveway holding his number in my hand, feeling like I had just been hit by a tornado. I did not sleep that night. After Lily went to bed, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea staring at Derek's phone number. Part of me wanted to rip it up and throw it away. Part of me wanted to call him and scream at him for everything he had put me through. And a tiny part of me, a part I did not want to acknowledge, wondered if maybe he really had changed. I called Amanda the next morning after I dropped Lily off at a birthday party. He showed up yesterday, I said as soon as she answered. Who showed up? She asked, confused. Derek. There was a long silence on the other end. Derek, as in Lily's father, Derek? The one who abandoned you 5 years ago, Derek? That would be the one, I said, my voice flat. What did he want? To apologize. To meet Lily. To be part of our lives. I filled her in on the entire conversation, and when I finished, she let out a long exhale. So what are you going to do? She asked. I have no idea, I admitted. On one hand, he does not deserve anything from us. He made his choice 5 years ago. But on the other hand, Lily might want to know her father someday, and if I keep him away now, she might resent me for it later. Whatever you decide, I support you, Amanda said. But Renee, you do not owe him anything. Not a single thing. If you let him back in, it has to be on your terms. And for Lily's benefit, not his. Her words resonated with me. She was right. If I was going to even consider this, it had to be about Lily, not about Derek's guilt or his need for redemption. I spent the next week thinking about it constantly. I watched Lily play with her friends at school, watched her laugh and run and be completely content with the life we had built. She was happy. She was thriving. Did I really want to risk disrupting that by bringing Derek into the picture? But I also thought about all the times she had asked about her dad. Does my daddy love me even though he is far away? She had asked once when she was 4. The question had broken my heart into a million pieces, and I had assured her that yes, of course he loved her, even though I had no idea if that was true. Finally, after countless sleepless nights and conversations with Amanda and my parents, I made my decision. I called Derek. Hello, he answered on the first ring like he had been waiting by the phone. It is me, I said. Renee. I am so glad you called, he said, relief flooding his voice. I have thought about what you said and I am willing to let you meet Lily, but there are conditions. Anything, he said quickly. First, this is about her, not you. If at any point I feel like this is hurting her or confusing her, I will end it immediately. Second, you do not get to just be her father when it is convenient. If you are going to do this, you have to commit fully. No disappearing again. Third, we are going to take this very slowly. You are not her dad right now. You are just Renee's friend Derek who wants to get to know her. We will figure out the rest as we go. I understand, he said. Thank you, Renee. Thank you for giving me this chance. Do not make me regret it, I said and hung up. The following Saturday, Derek came over to our apartment for the first time. I had explained to Lily that my old friend Derek was coming to visit, and she seemed excited to have company. When he arrived, he brought a stuffed unicorn for her, which she immediately loved. I watched them together that afternoon, playing with building blocks on the living room floor, and it was surreal. Derek was gentle and patient with her, asking her questions about her favorite things and actually listening to her answers. Lily, always friendly and outgoing, warmed up to him quickly. Over the next few months, Derek became a regular presence in our lives. He came over once a week at first, then twice a week. He took Lily to the park, helped her with simple art projects, and read her bedtime stories when I allowed it. He was good with her, I had to admit, better than I expected, but I kept my guard up. I watched him like a hawk, looking for any sign that he might bail again. I did not trust him, and I made sure he knew it. This was a trial period, and he was on thin ice. Around the 6-month mark, Derek asked if he could tell Lily the truth about who he was. We were sitting on my couch after she had gone to bed, and the question hung heavy in the air between us. I think she deserves to know, he said quietly. She is smart, Renee. She is going to figure it out eventually. I knew he was right, but the thought of having that conversation with Lily terrified me. How do you explain to a 5-year-old that her father abandoned her before she was even born, but now wants to be her dad? Let me think about it, I said, and he nodded, not pushing. That night after Derek left, I cried for the first time in months. Not because I was sad, but because I was angry. Angry that he got to come back and play the hero. Angry that I had done all the hard work alone and now he wanted credit for showing up after the worst was over. Angry that Lily might love him despite everything he had done. But most of all, I was angry at myself for even considering letting him back in. For being weak enough to give him another chance. The next morning, Lily asked me a question that changed everything. Mommy, she said over breakfast. Is Derek my daddy? My heart stopped. Why would you ask that, sweetheart? She shrugged, playing with her cereal. Some kids at school have daddies who come and go. And Derek comes and goes. And you get sad sometimes when he is here. I realized in that moment that I could not protect her from this anymore. She was too perceptive, too smart. She deserved the truth, or at least a version of it she could understand. Yes, I said quietly, sitting down next to her. Derek is your father. But he was not ready to be a daddy when you were born, so it has just been you and me for a long time. Now he wants to get to know you, if that is okay with you. She thought about this for a moment, then looked up at me with those big green eyes. Do I have to call him Daddy? Not if you do not want to, I said. You can call him whatever feels right to you. She nodded, processing this information with a maturity that broke my heart. Then she went back to eating her cereal like we had just discussed what to have for lunch, not the father who had abandoned her. That afternoon, I told Derek what had happened. He asked if he could talk to Lily himself to explain things in his own words. I agreed, but I stayed in the room the entire time. He sat on the floor with her at her level and spoke honestly, but gently. He told her he had made a mistake by not being there when she was born. He told her he was sorry and that he wanted to be part of her life now if she would let him. He did not make excuses or blame anyone. He just owned his failure. Lily listened carefully, then said something that absolutely floored both of us. It is okay, she said simply. Everyone makes mistakes. Mommy says the important thing is to try to fix them. Derek started crying right there on my living room floor. He pulled Lily into a hug and she let him, patting his back like she was the parent comforting the child. I watched this scene unfold and realized something crucial. I did not need Derek. Lily did not need Derek. But maybe, just maybe, Derek needed us. And maybe giving him the chance to be better, to grow, to be the father he should have been from the start was not about him at all. It was about showing Lily that people can change, that forgiveness is possible, and that family does not always look the way we planned. Over the next year, Derek proved himself. He showed up consistently. He paid child support without me having to ask. He came to Lily's school events and doctor's appointments. He integrated himself into our lives slowly and respectfully, always deferring to me as the primary parent, but stepping up in ways that actually helped rather than complicated things. His parents even reached out, eventually wanting to meet their granddaughter. I was hesitant at first, remembering how they had treated me when I was pregnant. But Derek had apparently had some serious conversations with them about their behavior, and they came to our apartment bearing gifts and genuine apologies. "We were wrong," his mother said to me that day, tears in her eyes. "We should have supported you. We should have supported our son in being a father instead of enabling him to run away. We are so sorry, Renee. And we would love the chance to know Lily if you will let us." I did not forgive them right away. Trust had to be earned. But over time, they proved themselves too. They became doting grandparents who showed up for Lily in ways that actually mattered. As for Derek and me, we never got back together. That ship had sailed, and I had no desire to resurrect it. Too much had happened, too much trust had been broken. But we developed a solid co-parenting relationship built on mutual respect and Lily's best interests. He eventually started dating someone new, a kind woman named Harper who worked as a physical therapist. I met her before she met Lily, which Derek respected, and I gave my approval. She was good to Lily, never trying to replace me but simply being another caring adult in her life. I also started dating again more seriously this time. I met a man named Thomas, a fellow teacher at a different school in the district. He was patient and understanding about my situation, and he fell in love with Lily almost as much as he fell in love with me. We took things slow, but I could see a future with him, one that Lily was excited about too. But here is the thing I realized through all of this. I did not need Derek to come back to validate me. I did not need him to make my family complete. I had already done that on my own. Lily and I were complete long before he showed up again. His return was not about him saving us or fixing what he broke. It was about him finally growing up and taking responsibility for his actions. It was about Lily having the option to know her father if she chose to, but it was never about me needing him. I had spent 5 years building a life from scratch. I had worked 2 jobs at times to make ends meet. I had gone without new clothes so Lily could have everything she needed. I had stayed up countless nights when she was sick with no one to spell me so I could get a break. I had celebrated every milestone alone, taken every photo alone, made every decision alone. I was the one who had taught her to walk, to talk, to read. I was the one who kissed her, scraped knees, and wiped her tears. I was the one who showed up every single day without fail, no matter how tired or scared or overwhelmed I felt. Derek coming back did not erase any of that. It did not diminish what I had accomplished. If anything, it highlighted it. Because in his absence, I had become everything Lily needed. I had become both mother and father, both nurturer and protector, both soft place to land and fierce defender. And when he showed up 5 years too late, I was not the desperate, heartbroken girl he had left behind. I was a strong, capable woman who had built an entire life without him. I was not waiting for him to rescue me because I had already rescued myself. That is what I want people to understand. When someone walks away from you, when they abandon you in your darkest moment, you have 2 choices. You can fall apart and let it define you, or you can rise up and prove that you never needed them in the first place. I chose to rise. I chose Lily. I chose myself. And in doing so, I discovered a strength I never knew I had. I learned that I was capable of so much more than I ever imagined. I learned that love is not about needing someone. It is about choosing them. And most importantly, I learned that the only person's validation I needed was my own. Derek coming back was not the end of my story. It was barely even a chapter. My story was always about me and Lily, about what we built together, about the unbreakable bond between a mother and her child. He got to be part of that story eventually, but he was never the hero. I was. Today, Lily is 7 years old. She calls Derek Dad now, though it took her over a year to feel comfortable with that. She has a relationship with him, but she knows who was there from day one. She knows who rocked her to sleep every night. She knows who taught her that she could do anything she set her mind to. And when she asks me about those early years, about the time when it was just us, I tell her the truth. I tell her it was hard, but it was also beautiful. I tell her that she gave me purpose when I felt lost. I tell her that she saved me just as much as I saved her. I tell her that being her mother has been the greatest honor of my life, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat, even the hard parts, even the lonely parts, even the moments when I was not sure I could make it another day, because she was worth it. She has always been worth it, and so was I. Have you ever been in a situation where someone came back into your life after hurting you deeply? Did you give them a second chance, or did you choose to move forward without them? Drop your thoughts in the comments. because I would love to hear your story. If this resonated with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so you do not miss future stories. And if you know someone who needs to hear this message about strength and resilience, please share this video with them. Thank you so much for listening to my story. I hope it reminded you that you are stronger than you think, and you are capable of surviving anything life throws at you. Take care of yourself, and remember that your worth is not determined by who stays or who leaves. It is determined by how you show up for yourself and the people who matter most. Until next time, be kind to yourself.